Hey, how's it going guys? JC here. Are you someone who used to play League of Legends a long time ago but can't seem to get back into the game due to so many new updates that make the game feel completely alien to you? Well then, this video is for you. I'll be covering all the additions Riot has made in the past couple of years in order to get you up to speed. We'll be going over a quick rundown of all the new champions, reworks of the old, quote-unquote, new rune Reforged system, new items rework, tower changes, Rift Herald, elemental drakes, and rift plans. These major talking points will summarily wrap up all the notable gameplay changes that Riot has made in the past couple of years. And without further ado, let's jump into it. Starting with towers. Outer turrets now start with 5 plates. Each plate represents 1000 health. When you destroy a plate, you are rewarded 160 gold split equally among nearby allied champions. The more tower platings you destroy, the tankier the tower gets. So the key thing you need to know is tower plates equals tons of gold. 1100 to be exact. They disappear 14 minutes into the game, so take them quickly. There's also a first blood turret award of an additional 150 gold. Winning lane is more important than ever, not just about getting kills and CS, but taking out the tower plates is the most lucrative way to earn gold in this season. Do you remember early seasons when the meta was bot lane goes to top or mid, ram down a tower as quickly as possible and rotate? Well, nowadays, mid and top tower has a 50% reduced damage taken buff until the 5-minute mark, in order to prevent bot lane from swapping. Towers also have item slots with additional information that you can read into. In other exciting tower news, split pushers will be happy to know inner turrets for top and bot only grant 600 gold on takedown. This was a recent change to stop people from default grouping on every Baron and Dragon fight to win games, and instead allow split pushing to become a more viable option, especially if your team is behind and just can't win straight 5v5s. Speaking of objectives, Rift Herald, aka Shelly, is the most important objective to fight over before the tower plates fall at the 14-minute mark. Why? Because she does 2000 true damage to any turret you drop her onto. The ideal strategy is to get an outer turret to just under 3000 health before summoning her in melee range to guarantee the charge. This is best done after you gank or kill the enemy laner, which will seriously put your team or yourself ahead in gold. Rift Herald has a spawn timer of 6 minutes, so you can potentially grab a second Rift Herald to push down inner turrets as well. Rift plants have also been a game-changing addition. There are now 3 types of plants that spawn around Summoner's Rift. The Honey Fruit, which restores health and mana, Blast Cone lets you move around the map or jump over walls, and Scrying Bloom reveals Fog of War and any wards that the enemy team has placed in that path. Riot has also revamped dragons. There are now 4 elemental drakes that spawn at random: Cloud, Infernal, Mountain, and Ocean. Each elemental dragon, when slain, grants your team cooldown reduction on ultimate, percentage AD and AP increase, percentage armor and magic resist, or restores percentage missing health respectively. The first 2 elemental drakes that spawn are random and unique. Upon the death of the 3rd dragon, the map will terraform based on that dragon's element. The terraform changes are also very important, and they are as follows. Cloud grants movement speed to everyone near blue, red, and dragon pit while spawning additional scryer blooms. Infernal destroys many of the bushes on the rift, burns away some of the walls surrounding Dragon Pit, blue and red buff, and extra blast cones spawn across the map. Mountain Terraform causes new rock terrain to form in each jungle quadrant and Dragon Pit. Lastly, Ocean spawns brushes across the map and additional honey fruit plants in the river. The Terraform Elemental Drake will continue to spawn until the first team reaches 4 dragons slain. That team will be awarded the Terraform Dragon Soul buff as shown. This will completely put a stop to Elemental Drake spawning and commences the Elder Drake spawn timer. If you slay Elder Drake, your team is buffed, allowing them to inflict a true damage burn over time and an automatic execute when enemies take damage below 20% health. This is extremely overpowered and massively swings teamfights in your favor. So this Drake should take priority over split pushing unless you're about to end their nexus. Next up we have Runes Reforged. It is very simple. Choose a keystone, then 3 runes, then choose 2 runes from a secondary tree. Pick 3 shards, cooldown reduction or attack speed or raw damage, damage or resistance, and lastly health or resistance, and you're done. To simplify it even further, all runes can be broken up into 7 categories: health increase or regen, mana regen, increased damage, reduced damage taken, cooldown reduction, mobility and tenacity, and lastly, utility or free items, so just pick what you want. On the other hand, keystones are unique in a sense that they are a combination of the 7 categories I just mentioned, but it's best to just have a quick look at them. It doesn't take that long and you'll thank me later. So just pick the best keystones that suits your champion, and if you're unsure or have problems deciding, then go to u.gg website, look up your champion's recommended keystone and runes. Now onto items rework. Tough one here, so get ready. As a returning League player, you just have to know that items are exactly the same as before with one exception: mythic items. These are normal items with more inflated stats and an active effect. The catch is, you can only purchase one of them. Most people will rush their champion's designated mythic item first because it will generally yield the best results. After that, just build like you would the good old days. So you might be asking, why are there legendary items as well? Well, legendary items are just normal completed items such as Infinity Edge, Randuin's Omen, Rabadon's Death Cap. The label is there to let you know that your mythic passive will grant you a stacking bonus effect per legendary item you have completed. These bonuses will give you stats such as additional move speed, AP, CDR, and so on, depending on what your mythic item tooltip says. Also, do note, tier 2 boots do not count as legendaries, and therefore won't grant you a mythic bonus. As you play more games, you will become familiar with each item over time, but to keep things simple, the in-game shop will show you items in categories that are for fighters, marksmen, assassins, mage, tank, and support items. If you are ever confused, look for the appropriate tab, the recommended, or u.gg and look up popular builds for the patch. Almost there, guys. Here is a blast from the past. We'll start with all the reworks to date and a quick rundown of anything notable to look out for in your games. Starting with reworks. And the first up is Mordekaiser.
It's time to do.
His E pulls you in, he's tanky, does consistent damage, and his ult is a Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel, banishing you into the Shadow Realm for a 1v1. Counts as a suppress, so this is cleansable with QSS. Diana's ult and E are swapped around, making her extremely overpowered and strong at early levels. Her new ultimate now does a ton of damage on top of her historically high burst. Fiddlesticks. Drain is now AoE and cooldown is reset if interrupted. His passive places clones of himself that act as a pink ward. It can run away or ult or flash away if an enemy approaches it, and his ultimate now does an AoE fear to everyone hit by it. Volibear, his ultimate gives him a dash, extremely high damage on landing and disables towers. His Q no longer flips, but it stuns you in place and he has a damaging shield from his E. And his W hits really hard and it heals him based on missing percentage health. Rammus's ult is the same as before, but also allows him to jump into the air, similar to Volibear. For Mundo's rework, everything remains the same, but his ult no longer costs health to cast and his passive makes him unstoppable. Tahm has his ultimate and W switched around. Biggest thing to note is that his new W, mobility, is no longer interrupted by damage unlike his ult version of the same ability. It teleports him a short distance and knocks people up, similar to Rek'Sai. With all the reworks out of the way, here are all the new champions and what to look out for. Sylas. Watch out for his W Kingslayer, it's a massive heal when he's low health, the caveat being it heals off of champions only and is melee range. His ult copies one of his enemy's ultimates and uses it against them, so don't be surprised to see a Sylas use Malphite's ultimate to blow up your team with his full AP build. Yuumi, this is an AFK heal and poke support champion. Think of her like a Soraka but untargetable while attached to an ADC and doesn't need to right click to move or anything. You can counter her as a support by outroaming her, and the alternative is landing a crowd control such as a stun when she detaches, which puts her attach ability on a 5-second cooldown. Qiyana is seen a lot in pro play for a good reason. She is a high mobility AD assassin with one-shot burst potential very early on. She can opt to go invisible indefinitely, making her very difficult to kill. She has little to no weaknesses except the first few levels during lane or against tanks, so shut her down early before your bot lane plays Grey Screen Simulator. Senna is, fun fact, Lucian's wife, who has a global AoE ultimate kind of like Lux but map wide range. It also shields allies. She has a group camouflage ability and her E is a slower version of Varus' ultimate. Aphelios is an ADC that swaps guns and does a crazy ton of damage. His abilities are needlessly complex. He is the embodiment of 200 years, a meme aimed at Riot Balance team which has a lot of rich backstory behind it. Bottom line is, he's designed unfairly and imbalanced upon release, which is an understatement. The take-home message here is, he has one of the longest range in the game and insane short range burst. Try to avoid fighting close range if he has the white weapon or your health will vanish. As for Set, his passive allows him to auto attack twice. So from level 1, it's like fighting 2 champions worth of auto attacks, but the biggest thing to note is his W is very similar to Tahm Kench's Grey Health Shield, but does true damage in a cone based on how big that shield is. Set is very cooldown dependent, so play around his W, literally. Lilia is like a super speedy AP version of Darius. Both champions' Q and passive are almost identical. Her ultimate puts everyone who is hit by her passive bleed into a Zoe sleep, and her weakness is she's short range and generally has to be in the middle of fights in order to do damage. Yone is Yasuo's brother. He does half AD and half AP damage. His third Q is a long dash. His E is unique as shown, so you know where he will always end up after it expires? His ult gathers all enemies in a line and does tons of damage. Samira is another ADC that is generally broken. She has a moving Katarina ultimate with no cooldown, a Fizz dash that resets on kills and assists, a Yasuo wind wall, and tons of AoE melee damage from her Q. Samira is a great example of an overloaded kit on a new champion in comparison to an old one like Jarvan with his useless W, and he needs 2 abilities to dash. Gosh, that champion's so bad. Seraphine is a Sona clone, but superior. Longer range on ultimate, and I seriously mean it. Her Q is a skill shot, but doubles as an execute ability. Her E slows, roots, and does damage. Rel is a support that steals armor and MR. She breaks shields with her Q, and is very tanky, but slow. She has a bunch of stuns in her kit, but does no damage, so think of her like an updated Leona. Viego. His passive makes his abilities mark enemies, causing his next attack on them to do a double strike, similar to Master Yi. His Q is like Yasuo, but double the range. His E camouflages him like Twitch or Evelynn. W is a dash and stun, and his ultimate is an AoE blink execute like Pyke's ult. Except, unlike Pyke, he can use it to escape. On kills and assists, he can take the soul of a dead enemy champion, making him untargetable, healing him, and granting him their item stats abilities barring their ultimate. And his ultimate resets each time he transforms, so he can do that all over again. Gwen. So she's a melee AP bruiser with consistent damage. Her level 1 is a dash and attack speed steroid, which she can use to beat up almost every matchup level 1 actually. Stay away from the center of her Q as it does true damage, and her R is like the old Irelia ultimate. Well, that was quite a handful. If you are still awake and with me, I congratulate you. I've saved the most tedious part of the video to last, which was explaining all the new champions and reworks. This video took an unholy amount of time to make. So, if you found this video helpful and want to see me climb from Iron to Diamond, be sure to subscribe or even check out the playlist in the description box below. If you have a friend that might be interested in this information within the video, be sure to share it with them so they may start playing League as well. I will also be working on releasing a video catered to complete beginners who have never played League of Legends before. You'll find links to those videos in the description box once it's ready. And with that said, I thank you all for watching. This is JC, and I'll be back with more content very soon. Cheers.